Welcome back to Pagan Valley, everyone. Tonight, we're taking a trip back to Massachusetts to continue our investigation into one of the most mysterious and terrifying mountains in the country. Surrounding Mount Greylock is an analog horror series that has captivated millions in the community now. Scary and cryptic, this series takes place within the community surrounding Mount Greylock and a company named SimioDyn that has interest in maybe national security. Or maybe they just want control of the entire public. Whichever one they want, what they'll use is what's hidden in Mount Greylock. We've talked about this series at length before, back in September. And now with a new additional video out, it's time to come back and look at some more clues that may have been given. But before we dive into the latest content, we're going to do a quick recap and go over that timeline that I created, and try to cover the biggest events that happened before we see what's new. And after we go through the new content, we'll do my favorite part of each video, which is to see if my theories held up, or are we going to have new theories based on new information that was shown. But before we begin tonight, funding for Pagan Valley is sponsored by NordVPN. Have you ever wondered how secure you are when browsing the internet? Are you jumping between public Wi-Fi spots all day? Are you traveling across the world but afraid you are going to miss the latest episode of your favorite show? Have no worries, because NordVPN is here to help. In just one click, you get more online security than ever before. NordVPN is the fastest VPN on the planet. Never miss anything from your favorite programs, even when you travel or stay home virtually. Stay safe from malware with anti-threat protection. NordVPN also comes with a password manager. It will keep your passwords handy when you're not online, making your digital life safer and simpler. Leaving home but need to bring your files with you? NordLocker keeps your files backed up, synchronized, and protected from prying eyes, data loss, or malware in its secure cloud. No one will be able to see them, touch them, or sell them. Your privacy is NordVPN's top priority. Never be tracked or have your data shared again. Your data remains protected at all times with strong encryption. Get NordVPN today, risk-free for 30 days with the following discount from Pagan Valley. Take control of your online security today with NordVPN. Get NordVPN using the following code to get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan. That's www.nordvpn.com/Pagan Valley for a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. That's www.nordvpn.com/Pagan Valley. And thank you, NordVPN, for sponsoring this video. So let's first look at the timeline I made. We know that Mount Greylock contains some kind of ancient temple that every civilization made a trip to pay homage to some spirit or entity. Then in 1963, a security company called SimioDyn was contracted by the US government to start the National Access Initiative, where SimioDyn would put hidden cameras in all home and government buildings. Also, the president of SimioDyn, Rothwell, is friends with LBJ, and definitely was a part of the group that had JFK assassinated. In 1981, we are introduced to Dr. Bernard Hayes, and this might be the year he is hired by SimioDyn to lead the ThoughtForm manifestor research team. Then in 1987, SimioDyn makes its first move by beginning to tunnel into Mount Greylock, which is followed by the miners they hired succumbing to some power that turns them into the Walking Dead. A few days later, either these miners or some other group begins invading people's homes, and the national emergency broadcast is sent out to the town. Also on this day, one of our characters, Tiffany, had her unborn child taken from her. Also, I'm pretty sure this is where Jim Melgren begins his investigation into the happenings on the mountain. April 8th of 1987, an archaeologist named Arnold Rivers reveals through a tape that he discovered the ancient ruins within Mount Greylock while the miners were working, but he fled the dig site after SimioDyn confronted him, only to be killed by a ThoughtForm. 2 weeks later, after the intruder incident, the news station makes a broadcast saying everything is back to normal by the order of the CIA. However, the news anchor is also attacked like the miners were. At this point, we jump 3 years in the future to this camera shot. Clearly, someone is aware of the National Access Initiative, and this individual learned the truth that everyone is being spied on. We then jump another 3 years to SimioDyn creating the thought form manifestor, allowing them to create entities and store them for future use. And a year later, we see a thought form attack someone on camera. I also made the update video regarding tape 10, where we learned that Tiffany Cresady had some sort of ability as a child that could be connected to the thought forms. Also, we learned that Tiffany was sacrificed by some sort of cult that also sent Jim Melgren a tape explaining that they know who he is and that he's investigating the mountain. And this led us to a couple of theories. One of them I had was Jim Melgren was once a member of this cult or group on the mountain, and that's why the group reached out to him. Another theory is that Jim Melgren is actually a tulpa created by this group, and Jim just doesn't know it yet. We can guess this because of the audio and visual distortions caused by his presence near the camera. We also theorized that Alex Marsh would become a mole and infiltrate SimioDyn from the inside. It was because of their movements on the mountain that his partner is dead and his unborn child vanishing. He also might be the one to turn off the SimioDyn core system that gets booted up in the first video. As for SimioDyn, we theorize they are wanting whatever power is in those ancient ruins for themselves, using it to control the population with the power of the tulpas. And that brings us to the latest video, titled Waking Your Subconscious. In the description, we get an ominous line that says, "You are now prepared to see new shadows in your home." Our video begins with a warning on the tape, and something that stands out immediately. This tape is for a woman named Charlotte Jean Melgren, which is the same last name as the private investigator Jim Melgren. So this could be a wife or maybe some other relative to our character. The following slide looks like the standard FBI warning, but at the bottom we can see that this is a SimioDyn tape back in 1993, the same year Alex Marsh is working for SimioDyn in their thought form manifestor group. Perhaps this is another experiment. Next, we receive a health and safety warning for the video that reads, "Participation in this part of the TF system may result in the viewer achieving a heightened sensory state. This can cause the viewer to experience unexpected visual and auditory occurrences which have no discernible source." We can assume the TF system is the thought form system. These occurrences may include, but are not limited to, transient moving shapes, unsettling shadow formations, vocal phenomena such as whispering, unidentifiable music that sounds distant or muffled, a feeling of a separate presence even while alone. Next, we are shown that our Charlotte Melgren is being put in the thought form neurovisor headset and given a workbook. There our tape begins. "Welcome to Waking Your Subconscious." A robot voice introduces the program and walks through a checklist before participating. Ensure that you are all alone and will not be disturbed for the entire duration of this program. Turn off all light sources except for the television monitor used for this program. It's suggested that you initiate this program after sundown. Ensure your volume is elevated enough to block out any outside or ambient noise. Open your workbook to the TF2 section and have your writing utensil ready. If you don't have your workbook, please use a piece of paper and label it with TF2 and your name at the top. The next slide has some sort of interruption that distorts the tape and its audio, but I think the voice says something really cruel. Something about plunging a knife into your skull, which, isn't very motivating to do this testing. Once the screen countdowns from 10, our program begins and enters section 1, Induction, unlocking the gateway to the deeper corridors of your psyche. We then get a photosensitivity warning, which is pretty cool that Greylock was able to add that warning and sew it into the series to where it makes sense. The induction section asks us to stare at our screens for 30 seconds looking at these flashing lights, which you can go see for yourself so I don't accidentally flashbang someone who might be sensitive to it. Next we move on to section 2, titled Outlier, which says you are about to be shown 5 sets of words. Each set is made up of 6 words. For each set, you will have 10 seconds to choose and write down the one word out of the 6 that you feel doesn't fit with the others. In the first set, all of the words are furniture except for the word rope that stands out. In the second set, the word blood stands out from the list of organs. And already something humanoid is forming on the screen behind our list. Before our third set, we receive some images for a few frames. The first is that the words in the list change to "all you cherish will be remade." Then we receive an image of a woman with some dogs. And lastly, we get a newspaper article that reads, "Local Samaritan opens her heart and home to stray dogs." In the subtitle, we can read the name of Charlotte as the dog savior. As for the body of the article, it's a little too distorted to read. In the third set, the word that stands out is hiding, and I chose that one since all the others would be true if you were already spotted. Our video then distorts itself again to give us this other message that says, "Love contorts her flesh and bone." It then cuts back to the fourth set of words where the word that stands out is improved. During the fifth, we get another message that reads, "Where is our daughter, Jim?" which gives us 2 clues. One, Charlotte is Jim Melgren's daughter, and second, this doesn't seem like a tape that Jim discovered from SimioDyn. This is a message made by the cult group. We also received a missing person poster from Charlotte. In the fifth set of words, the word "you" stands out as different. We are then finished with the list, but before starting the next step, we receive a couple more flashing images. The first is recovered footage from Paul Morelli, the leader of the miners. It was footage from before they all turned into monsters, and it looks to be of the ancient ruins. The next message is definitely something that made me shiver. Warning, unauthorized alterations detected. This device has detected unauthorized alterations to the program content of this tape. Please stop playback immediately and give this cassette to your program liaison. Failure to adhere to this warning may result in undesired consequences and could compromise your psychological well-being. Your compliance is mandatory. But we are going to continue on and enter the third section, conditioning, testing the way that you perceive and respond to certain stimuli. This section's test is kinda complicated, but essentially the test is that you have to read the word out loud that is given regardless of the emotion of the face behind the word. Think you're ready for this one? Remember, our friend in the background on the screen is there cheering us on, so let's give it a shot.
Smiling face, or they might not match, like the word angry appearing on a sad face. You are about to begin the first testing phase of this section. This will be the easiest phase, with each subsequent phase becoming more and more difficult. Look directly at your screen and state your responses out loud. Phase 1 testing begins in 5 seconds.
Our video then cuts to what looks like security camera footage from August 23rd, 1992, and what I think is the dog shelter mentioned in the newspaper article about Charlotte. I'm guessing this since Unit 2's camera is in the kennels, but our first camera catches something breaking into the animal shelter. Our camera footage then returns to the home desktop where we see a security agent for this company put in his credentials. Doing so allows him to call the shelter's owner, Charlotte. Charlotte answers and tells Ted, the security officer, that it was a false alarm and nothing is wrong, just the power went out. She then says she's going to flip the breaker, but the two go back and forth on whether it is safe. Ted eventually gives in and says he's going to check all of the night's security footage to be safe. But when he goes to watch the playback, there is an error. Eventually, Charlotte reaches the dogs. However, the dogs aren't moving and Charlotte begins to panic. At this point, a tulpa enters the dog kennels and Ted begins helping Charlotte escape the monster while the police come down the road, until she gets cornered in a dark room, and this happens.
It ripped my flashlight.
Charlotte?
It ripped my flashlight. It's gone. Something ripped it out of my hand. I can't see anything. Please fucking help me, please. Something's in here. Wait.
Okay, Charlotte, I've sent your information to the North Adams PD, okay? They responded that an officer will be there in 3 minutes. Do you think you can find your way out? Charlotte, listen, you need to try your best to be calm and just listen to me, okay? Can you find your way out?
I'm trying. Where's the fucking door? This doesn't make any sense. The door's fucking gone.
Charlotte, you're gonna be okay. Just listen to me right now. Feel along the wall until you get to a door or a window, okay?
Okay.
Do it right now, nice and quick, all right?
Please,
What?
Jesus.
Fuck.
Please, oh God, please. This doesn't make any sense. It's like a totally different fucking building. The walls it just keeps going. There's no windows. There's no doors. This isn't fucking possible.
Just keep going. Stay focused. There must be something.
I'm trying.
You need to keep feeling our way out, Charlotte. Don't let anything distract you. Great job, Charlotte.
Okay, I'm out and the door's locked.
Okay, very good, Charlotte. You're doing great. I need you to tell me what room you're in so I can inform the officer. Are you able to see now, even just a little?
Yeah, I can't see anything, no. It makes no sense. Nothing is making sense. I have no clue where I am. It's so dark. I can't tell if it's really this dark or if I'm blind.
Breathe, Charlotte. Breathe. You need to try and stay as calm as you possibly can. Listen, if it's that dark, whatever's in there probably can't see you either, okay? So it's important that we stay very quiet until the police arrive. Very quiet.
Okay.
Okay, good. Stay right where you are. Keep your back against the wall. All right, the officer's just down the road right now. You're going to be okay. Now listen, I'm going to stop talking so we can be completely quiet. But no, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere until you're safe.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you.
It's all okay. We're going to get you out of there. Now, no more talking.
I think my skin is moving.
What's going on? Charlotte! Charlotte! What's going on? Charlotte! Charlotte! Charlotte!
And an important test. This test is made up of 5 statements. You will check true or false beside the corresponding number for each statement in your workbook. If you do not have your workbook, simply...
The video then cuts to the test called True or False. In this test, all we have to do is write down true or false to the corresponding statements. This video is changing your brain. True. Only a very small percentage of people will never betray their moral values, no matter the situation. False. Through your conscious mind, you make your own decisions. False. We all have immortal thoughts and desires, but it's critical to focus our energy on the positive aspects of ourselves so that we can be better people. False. Opening the door to your shadow psyche and embracing your darkest urges as part of yourself is the only way to live a fulfilling life.
Testing complete.
With that, testing is complete and we now enter section 5, activation, establishing the subliminal bridge. This section is pretty long and it contains mostly trippy visuals, but I want to focus on the strangest ones that might be clues. First, there is this video of someone hiding in a closet and watching the room door open. Next, there is this dark image of what looks like 2 eyes of some creature looking at the camera. And finally, there is this looping video of a train going through a tunnel. All of which I don't really have an idea for how they connect. Finally, our video cuts to footage from the police investigating the animal shelter after Charlotte's attack, which concludes the video with probably one of the coolest and most disturbing graphics we have ever seen on this channel. The police officers find Charlotte, who has become fused in a bloody pile with the dogs from the kennels, still alive and writhing in agony. This looks so good, and for the amount of CGI animation that went into the piece, it still looks like it's being captured on a 1990s camera. Just a nightmare come to life. Following it, we get a slide that says the tape is completed and to move to the 3rd tape of the ThoughtForm system. So, what did this new tape in Greylock show us? Well, let's first look at SimioDyn. Clearly, whatever they captured in the depths of Mount Greylock is some otherworld power. A power that is connected to the research done by Dr. Bernard Hayes. And after that last tape, and the tape that Alex Marsh had, summoning that tulpa out of a person doesn't take some horrible event to happen to you, or you have to meditate for years. It only takes a few hours of tapes and their device, and the dark shadow of any man can be unleashed. We also learned about Jim, who through 1987 must have had a family in Greylock when Arnold Rivers approached him. Maybe my theories are wrong, and Jim is just an investigator putting this disaster together. Which brings me to my next question. When did the messages from the dead tape take place for Jim? Because if we look at his timeline, I'm starting to think that Jim's footage has all taken place in the 1990s, a few years after the mountain opening. Arnold gave him this case in 1987, but Jim's been investigating it for years. Which is why in this latest one, Jim told his daughter Charlotte to get security cameras for her animal shelter. Because Jim knows something is wrong with this community and the mountain. But the night of Charlotte's attack was in 1992, but the tape said 1993. I think this group that reached out to Jim has given him a tape with a much more disturbing revelation. Charlotte was still alive and forced into the thought form manifestor by SimioDyn, so a new thought form was formed. We know the tape was tampered with because of the alert we read, so this group was able to take over the thought form process. And I can't stop thinking about the title of that video, Messages from the Dead. Could it be possible that this group that attacked Tiffany Cresati are all tulpas, created from men long ago that wanted to cast off their shadow and kept them sealed in Mount Greylock, but when the mountain was opened, they were freed? And they know Jim is investigating all of this because, well, they're watching him. The man Arnold Rivers gave by name in his recording. But if that's the case, SimioDyn actually has less control than they seem to think. These tulpas seem pretty unhinged based on the messages in the latest video we got. Love contorts our flesh and bone. All you cherish will be remade. This seems a little too evil for SimioDyn. So the big takeaway I'm getting from this video is that the tulpas are pretty universally evil, and SimioDyn either is really naive to think using them could help anything, or maybe SimioDyn is taking a risk by unleashing this evil for some goal. So those are my thoughts on where I think this series is going for now. If any of you have your own theories, why don't you leave them down below in the comments to share with all of us? And while you're down there, why not like this video and subscribe to see more content? And if you want to support Pagan Valley and the What the Hell series, consider becoming a Pagan member on our channel. But you'll also get shoutouts, badges next to your username, and custom emojis that you can put down below. Also, be sure to check out that special offer from NordVPN down in the description. With all that said, this has been Pagan Valley, wishing you all a good evening.